Dragon's Dogma 2 Update 1.10 patch notes. First and foremost, we have Dragon's Plague, reducing the infection frequency of Dragon's Plague and adjusting the signs of pawns infected with Dragon's Plague to be more noticeable. For example, when infected, glowing eyes will be more noticeable. This takes us straight into the next fix, gameplay, adding the option to zoom into the faces of Arisen and Pawn in the status screen, shops, etc. These two fixes work hand in hand to prevent the frequency of Dragon's Plague and it wiping out your entire town. So the way you want to prevent it is first you want to take the equipment helmet off of all of your party members anytime before you're going to rest at an inn or your home. Then once you take that off, go into the status screen and zoom in on your characters and inspect the eyes. If it's glowing red, then act accordingly. Either dismiss them from your party before resting, or you could throw them into a brine to cleanse them. Here's a short demo on how to inspect your character. You have to go into status, and in the bottom left it'll tell you what button to press. For me it's R3. Then once you zoom in, check the eyes of all your pawns. Next, for gameplay fixes, we have fixing some issues and implementing adjustments related to the minimap. Treasure chests that have already been acquired won't be displayed on the minimap. I've actually had issues where they would keep saying there's a treasure chest there even though I've already acquired it, so this is a welcome change. Now I'll at least know that I've actually gotten the thing so I don't keep searching for the same thing. That was all for gameplay. Next we have pawns. Adjustment of pawns' behavior and dialogue. That's a very general statement, and then moving forward they say fixing issues where occasionally the player couldn't high-five pawns. So that's a small minor change, but it is a little annoying when you try to high-five your pawn and you just keep bumping into them. But yeah, that's going to be nice. I'm sure that helps with the affinity as well. So be sure to high-five your pawns. Don't leave them hanging. Next we have fixing issues where pawns wouldn't start guiding after offering a guide. Now me personally, I've been dealing with this issue a lot. I would just see them saying, oh Master, I know there's a chest, I know there's a rift stone or something nearby, and naturally when you would just press up on the D-pad, which is command go, they're supposed to take you to that spot. But recently in the game, I just keep pressing up and they just like stop doing what they're doing. I press it again and again and it just doesn't work. So I'll be looking forward to playing that in game and seeing that being fixed. And next we have making pawns less likely to fall off cliffs. Now this is actually super annoying because there are times I'm like looking for a chest, just edging off of a cliff just to like barely, stay alive. But the pawns don't have the same sense of being safe or taking caution. They'll just like fall right off the edge, either die or take fall damage, one or the other, and that really sucks with the loss gauge. But I'm not sure how this affects like the brine, because that's another thing that's been annoying me, because I would just try to go, either catch a fish or just go by a water area and then they'll just fall straight in and that would completely kill them. That's not even going down, so the brine is even more of a concern. So hopefully that's also addressed. Up next we have reducing the frequency of some pawn dialogue lines, improving pawn lines to better match circumstances, fixing some issues where pawns stop speaking outside of combat, fixing some issues where the main pawn speaks support pawn's dialogue. Now I don't know about you, but for me it was getting kind of annoying when some pawns would say a line and I'm like, oh, it's a cool line, but then they'll just keep repeating it and spamming it and I'm just like, okay, now it's getting super annoying. So I'm guessing they're going to make it less frequent to just spam dialogue. Next we have making pawns more likely to aid the Arisen if the Arisen commands them to help while being held by enemies. So I'm guessing that's when the wolves decide to grab you and start running off with you, or let's say the ogre grabs you, starts running off with you. Definitely use the help button, which is left on the D-pad for me. That way hopefully your teammates are going to be more supportive. Reducing the frequency of pawns offering to be hired by the player while in the field. So anytime you're running past certain pawns in the wild and they just start waving at you and starting their dialogue saying, they want to be hired and stuff, that did get a little annoying, because if I did want to hire them, I would just go talk to them myself. But yeah, that's actually a welcome change. Glad they're considering little stuff like that. That was all for pawns. Next we have fixes. Fixing issues where sometimes escort quests are considered failed when accessing character edit or other specific situations. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, escort quests are by far one of the worst quests in the game, because one, they don't reward you much. Two, it's like if you're not paying attention to your minimap or compass and it says you run too far ahead, it'll like instant fail or something. And the only really workaround I found is to use like a fairy stone to travel straight to the point where they want to go. But rewards aside, the only real reason to do that is to build affinity, because there's just certain characters that once you max out their affinity, they give you their maester skills or something. So that's nice, and hopefully they do address like the escort quest to like give more rewards. But yeah, that's good. Fixing issues where the player could be jailed when fighting monsters in town. I haven't had any issues with this. The town men's are pretty annoying when they see you with your weapon out, but they have never jailed me. So if you've had to deal with that, rest assured, hopefully that's been fixed. Fixing some crashes and freezes in specific circumstances. Now that's actually surprising to hear. My entire playtime of like 200 plus hours, I've never had any crashes. I've had huge frame rate issues and stuff like that, but it never crashed. So if you have to deal with that, hopefully they fix it and you don't have to deal with that anymore. So thank goodness that's gotten addressed. The final thing on the list is miscellaneous bug fixes, and that's all. So the rest of the video, I'm going to talk about the stuff that I'm more concerned with. Hopefully they will address that in the future. I have no doubt that they will, but they're well aware of some of these things, so it's just going to take time and patience for us to see the results. But nonetheless, I'm still going to talk about it. So for me, performance issues are still one of the biggest things. Like the last update they added where they added the turning ray tracing off and motion blur off. That has helped tremendously with the frame rate, but I do want to see it improve even more to at least hit like a steady 60 FPS on console, and that would be a huge benefit to like the gameplay experience and overall just enjoyment for me. Other things, I guess it was like the pawn thing. If you played the game when it first released, the pawns were very good at staying in pace with you and they would help you, but recently after a couple updates, I feel like anytime I'd run into any battle, my pawns are nowhere to be found. I would keep asking for help, telling them, come here, and they just wouldn't. They would take their sweet time. So that's definitely something they took a step backward on, if I've noticed. And that's just from gameplay experience. But yeah, hopefully that gets fixed. My next concern is actually a little bit to do with balancing, but it's just to enjoy the overall experience for the game and the combat. I would really like Warfare to have two different skills based on which weapon you swap to, that rather than just the 3 skills plus the rearmament. And I know some people might say it's overpowered, it doesn't need buffing or anything like that, but just if you think about the overpoweredness in this game, there's just so many things that are completely overpowered. It's clearly not gonna like make the game any more broken than it already is, and if that's the balancing thing. But in terms of fun aspect of it, it'd be way more fun to have just different combinations of weapon abilities and stuff to just switch between to do cool stuff. Like I wouldn't even mind having 9 different weapons in my repertoire and just to switch between them just to do cool stuff rather than be limited to only 3 skills. So yeah, that's another request I have. But anyway, that's all from me, and I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. Let me know which issues you ran into and if these patches have helped your gameplay experience, and if not, which other updates and patches you would like to see in the future. I'm sure the game developers sometimes look at some of these videos and for feedback and stuff like that, and hopefully they'll get addressed. Thank you for watching. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more.